Have you ever felt it? That quiet tremor in your chest when someone smiles at you, but their eyes tell a different story. A story of hidden agendas, unspoken resentments weaving through the air like invisible threads. You sense it before words are spoken, before actions betray. And in that moment, you wonder, am I imagining this? Or is my heart a radar, picking up signals others miss? What if I told you this isn't a curse, but a secret power, one that sends shivers down the spines of those who thrive on control? Welcome to a journey through the hidden chambers of the mind, inspired by the wisdom of a man who mapped the soul's darkest corners. Today we uncover why empaths secretly terrify manipulators. Picture this. You're in a crowded room, conversations buzzing like bees. But you're attuned to the undercurrents, the slight hesitation in a voice, the flicker of envy in a glance. It's exhausting, isn't it? Sometimes you lie awake replaying interactions, feeling the weight of emotions that aren't even yours. You've been called too sensitive and overthinker, maybe even broken. But deep down, you know there's more. You've attracted people who seem charming at first, only to reveal their games, twisting words, pulling strings, leaving you drained. Why you? Why always you? It's not random. It's archetypal. And the key lies in the insights of a thinker who saw empathy not as weakness, but as a bridge to the collective soul. Before we dive deeper, if this resonates with your soul's journey, please hit that like button and subscribe for more transformational content. Your support helps this message reach other souls who need to hear it. I speak of Carl Jung, the explorer of dreams and shadows, who understood that our psyches are vast oceans, with currents connecting us all. He didn't use the word empath as we do today, but his descriptions of intuitive souls, those who perceive beyond the surface, paint a picture that fits you perfectly. These are the ones who feel the unspoken, who intuit the hidden motives. And manipulators, they fear you because you see through their illusions. You disrupt their carefully crafted deceptions. In this exploration, we'll walk the path from confusion to clarity, from vulnerability to victory. By the end, you'll not only understand this dynamic, but feel empowered to wield your sensitivity like a shield. Stay with me, because what comes next might just change how you see yourself forever. Let's begin by acknowledging your truth. If you've ever absorbed someone's pain like a sponge, only to be left wrung out while they walk away lighter, you're not alone. This is the empath's quiet burden and its hidden gift. Jung taught that our minds are layered, the conscious self we show the world, and the unconscious depths where truths simmer. Empaths live closer to those depths, their intuition, a lantern illuminating what others ignore. But manipulators rely on darkness. They project their flaws onto you, making you carry their shame. Your light exposes them. That's why they circle you, not to cherish, but to dim. Yet in recognizing this, you awaken. The terror they feel, it's the fear of being seen. As we move deeper, remember, this isn't about blame. It's about understanding. Jung believed true growth comes from facing the unseen. So lean in. The awakening awaits. Let's expand on this pull. Consider how society conditions us to dismiss intuition. From childhood, we're told to toughen up to not feel so much. But Jung saw this sensitivity as essential a function of the psyche that connects us to the collective unconscious, that shared reservoir of human experience. Empaths tap into it, effortlessly sensing archetypes at play, the hero, the villain, the trickster. Manipulators often embody the trickster gone wrong, deceiving to avoid their own emptiness. Your ability to sense this archetype in action, it pulls them in, but also repels them when you don't play along. Think of it like a magnetic field. Your empathy draws in those with polar opposites, chaotic energies seeking your stability. But when the field strengthens, when you assert your boundaries, the repulsion, begins. This is the secret terror. They can't control what they can't infiltrate. Jung's work on psychological types highlights this, the intuitive feeling type. Often the empath operates on a level of perception that bypasses logic. It's not rational, it's primal. Manipulators who rely on rational manipulation words and strategies find this unpredictability terrifying. You don't need evidence, you feel the lie. This pull isn't just attraction, it's the setup for revelation. To make it personal, recall a moment where your gut screamed warning, but you ignored it. That regret. It's the psyche's way of teaching. Jung would say it's synchronicity, meaningful coincidences, urging growth. The manipulator enters your life not by chance, but to highlight your untapped power. As we transition, feel this magnetic force shifting from pull to push, awakening your inner sight. Have you ever wondered why certain people seem to orbit you, drawn in yet wary? It's because your empathy is a beacon illuminating truths they can't face. Jung described the psyche as a dance of opposites, light and shadow, attraction and repulsion. Empaths, with their heightened sensitivity, disrupt this dance for manipulators. Your presence challenges their control, exposing the fragility of their masks. This is the first step, recognizing that your sensitivity isn't a flaw to be fixed, but a strength to be honed. Let's deepen this understanding, moving from the pull of their games to the awakening of your power. The magnetic pull is not just about attraction, it's about the tension between what you feel and what they hide. Jung's insights into the collective unconscious reveal that empaths are attuned to universal patterns, sensing the unspoken motives that manipulators rely on concealing. This creates a paradox. They need you to maintain their facade, yet fear you because you see through it. As we explore further, you'll see how this dynamic sets the stage for a profound shift, one that turns your sensitivity into a tool for liberation. Now imagine waking up one morning and realizing the fog you've lived in wasn't yours. That's the awakening, the moment you see the patterns. Society tells us empathy is soft, a trait to be managed or medicated. But Jung saw it differently. In his view, intuition is one of the 4 core functions of the psyche, alongside thinking, feeling, and sensing. For intuitives, those sensitive souls we call empaths, perception isn't just seeing, it's penetrating. You don't just hear words, you feel the intent behind them. This makes you a natural detector of discord. Think back, have you noticed how certain people pull away when you get too close? Not physically, but emotionally. They charm everyone else, but with you there's tension. It's because manipulators build empires on half-truths. They gaslight, triangulate, withhold, all to maintain power. But your empathy bypasses their defenses. You sense the inconsistency, the hidden rage, or insecurity. Jung called this projection. When we deny parts of ourselves, we cast them onto others. Manipulators project their shadows, their greed, their fears, hoping you'll absorb it. But empaths, you reflect it back. Unconsciously, you become a mirror, forcing them to glimpse their own darkness. And that terrifies them. Let's connect the dots you've maybe never connected. Why do empaths attract these types? It's not bad luck. Jung spoke of synchronicity, meaningful coincidences guided by the unconscious. Your sensitivity draws those with unintegrated shadows because deep down the psyche seeks balance. The manipulator's chaos meets your calm, creating a magnetic pull. But here's the blind spot. Many empaths carry their own wounds, perhaps from childhood, where feeling deeply was punished or exploited. You learn to people please, to heal others at your expense. This creates a cycle. You give, they take, you burn out. The lie you tell yourself, if I just love enough, they'll change. Jung would say no. Change comes from within, not from your sacrifice. Gently now, let's challenge that assumption. What if your empathy isn't meant to fix them, but to reveal you? Jung warned that unchecked intuition can lead to self-loss, where you merge with others' emotions. But awakened, it's discernment. Recall a time when you ignored your gut, stayed in a toxic friendship, a draining job, and paid the price. That was the lesson. Now imagine flipping it. Using that same sensitivity to spot red flags early. The awakening isn't painful. It's liberating. You start seeing manipulators not as threats, but as teachers highlighting where you need boundaries. Here's where it gets fascinating. Jung described introverted intuitives, often empaths, as living difficult yet profound lives. They keep things to themselves, observing quietly. This reserve unnerves manipulators who need reactions to feed their games. Your silence, it's power. They probe, provoke, but you sense the trap. One story comes to mind. A woman, let's call her Anna, always felt the undercurrents in her relationships. Her partner would twist facts, but she sensed the distortion. Instead of arguing, she observed. He unraveled, accusing her of mind games. But it was her calm that exposed his. That's the shift, from reactor to reflector. But resistance creeps in. What if I'm wrong? What if it's all in my head? Jung anticipated this. He said doubt is the shadow's whisper keeping us small. Push through. Connect this to your life. That colleague who undermines subtly, the partner who twists your words. Your empathy exposes their maneuvers before they land. They sense it too that you're onto them. Terror sets in, because without your compliance, their facade crumbles. This awakening builds the foundation, empathy as insight, not burden. To deepen the challenge, consider how culture glorifies the tough, the unfeeling. Jung critiqued this, arguing that repressing intuition leads to neurosis. Empaths, by embracing it, avoid that fate. But manipulators exploit the cultural bias, labeling you dramatic to discredit your perceptions. Awakening means reclaiming your narrative. You're not overreacting. You're perceiving accurately. This realization sparks gentle defiance. You begin questioning, why do I absorb their pain? What if I reflect it instead? Let's layer more connections. Jung's work on archetypes shows empaths embodying the wise old man or woman, the intuitive guide. Manipulators fear this because it contrasts their shadow archetypes, the false king or queen ruling through deceit. Your presence challenges their reign. In personal terms, think of group dynamics. In a team, the manipulator sows division, but you feel the collective unease. Speaking up even subtly disrupts their plan. They retreat or attack, but you've awakened the group too. As we approach the depths, hold this: you've always known more than you admit. Jung's wisdom affirms it. The journey intensifies. Now prepare to dive. Expand on resistance. It's the ego's defense, fearing change. But awakening softens it, revealing freedom on the other side. You're ready. To broaden this awakening, think of moments when your intuition saved you. Maybe a job offer felt off, and you declined, later learning it was toxic. Or a friend whose charm masked control, and you distanced yourself before harm. These are your psyche's victories, proof of your inner radar. Jung's concept of the feeling function, often dominant in empaths, explains this. You process through emotional resonance, not just logic. Manipulators rely on logic's blind spots, but your feelings expose them. This awakening is your first step toward reclaiming power. Let's challenge further. Have you ever felt guilty for sensing too much? Society teaches us to doubt our instincts, but Jung validated them. Your empathy isn't a flaw. It's a gift that manipulators can't wield. Their fear stems from this: you operate on a plane they can't access. As we move to the depths, carry this truth: your awakening is the beginning of their unraveling. Welcome to the depths, where surface illusions dissolve. and core truths emerge. Here we confront the heart of why empaths terrify manipulators, the shadow. Carl Jung defined the shadow as the repressed parts of ourselves, the instincts, desires, flaws, and impulses we deny or hide away in the unconscious. It's not inherently evil. It's profoundly human, a natural aspect of the psyche that contains both destructive and creative potentials. But when unacknowledged, it festers, distorting our behavior and relationships. Manipulators embody this shadow in an exaggerated form. Their superficial charm, charisma, and calculated allure mask a bloated shadow swollen with envy, a thirst for control, and deep-seated narcissism. They manipulate not out of pure malice, but to avoid facing their own inner darkness, projecting it outward onto others, especially empaths who become unwitting scapegoats for their unresolved pain, insecurities, and fears. To make this more vivid, explore this dynamic with me through a metaphorical story. Imagine a lush garden at dusk, bathed in the soft glow of twilight. The empath is the fertile soil, rich and receptive, absorbing the nourishing rain and warm sun, quietly nurturing seeds into vibrant blooms. This soil represents the empath's innate capacity for empathy, depth, and emotional absorption, fostering growth in everything it touches. The manipulator, in contrast, is the insidious vine that twists and coils, choking the surrounding plants in its relentless climb toward the light. It doesn't cultivate its own roots. Instead, it latches on, siphoning vitality from the soil to mask its own barrenness. But the soil, the empath, feels the invasion acutely, the probing roots delving too deep, the subtle draining of nutrients. Jung would interpret this as the vine projecting its own infertility and dependence onto the soil, blaming it for not yielding enough, for being too soft or overly accommodating. Yet, it's the empath's profound depth, that intuitive sensing of hidden motives, that ultimately reveals the vine's true parasitic nature, not prosperous or self-sustaining, but reliant on exploitation. This revelation strikes at the core. It's the terror manipulators feel. Exposure forces them to confront their shadow, stripping away the illusions they've built to survive. Let's weave in Jung's foundational theory to deepen our understanding. The psyche, according to Jung, seeks wholeness through the process of individuation, a lifelong journey of integrating disparate parts of the self, including the shadow, to achieve psychological balance and maturity. Empaths, with their naturally porous boundaries and heightened sensitivity to emotional undercurrents, often absorb others' shadows before recognizing their own. This absorption creates pivotal aha moments. Suddenly, in a flash of insight, you realize the anger, guilt, or anxiety you're carrying isn't truly yours. It's the manipulator's projected shadow thrust upon you like an unwelcome inheritance. Think back to those sleepless nights, lying awake, burdened by inexplicable guilt after a confrontation or a subtle gaslighting episode. That's the empath's absorption at work, taking on the manipulator's disowned emotions as if they were your own. But here's the breakthrough, the empowering pivot Jung championed. By recognizing this projection, you can consciously return it. Whisper to yourself, "This isn't mine, it's theirs." In that act of discernment, the manipulator panics. Without a willing host to carry their shadow, they're left staring into the abyss of their own psyche, unmediated and raw. Deeper still, we can trace how empaths evolve through distinct stages inspired by Jung's archetypal framework. These stages illustrate the path from vulnerability to empowerment, highlighting why manipulators target early phases but flee from the later ones. First comes the unconscious absorber, the empath who takes on everything, indiscriminately, overwhelmed by the flood of external emotions, leading to exhaustion and confusion. In this stage, manipulators find easy prey, as the empath's lack of filters allows unchecked projection. Next is the wounded helper. Aware of their sensitivity, The empath tries to heal others, often attracting more pain in the process, becoming entangled in codependent dynamics where their empathy is exploited. Manipulators love this phase, feeding off the empath's desire to fix or nurture. Then arrives the shadow integrator. Here the empath turns inward, facing their own darkness, perhaps tendencies toward codependency, suppressed resentment, or fear of abandonment. This integration demands courage, as it involves acknowledging how one's own shadow might contribute to the cycle. Finally, the awakened guide emerges, boundary discerning and whole. This empath sees through manipulative tactics, like love bombing, overwhelming affection to hook you, victim playing, shifting blame to elicit sympathy or triangulation, pitting people against each other as desperate attempts to evade self-reflection. Manipulators thrive on the early stages where vulnerability reigns, but the integrated empath. They're untouchable, a mirror reflecting the manipulator's flaws back at them with unflinching clarity. It's important to address potential objections head-on, as they often arise from our own shadows resisting change. But aren't empaths manipulative too, one might ask? Jung would nod in agreement, reminding us that the shadow resides in everyone, no exceptions. An unhealed empath might indeed wield their sensitivity manipulatively, perhaps using emotional insights to guilt-trip others into compliance, or to avoid direct conflict by playing the victim themselves. That's precisely why integration is crucial. It prevents the empath from becoming what they fear. Feel that inner resistance bubbling up. It's normal the psyche clings to familiar patterns of pain because change threatens the status quo. But push through by relating this to your own story. Consider that draining friend who always turns conversations back to their woes. Their manipulation might mirror your unhealed need to be needed to derive worth from saving others. Breaking this cycle flips the terror. Suddenly, they fear your newfound independence, your refusal to play the role they've assigned you, as it forces them to confront their own dependencies. Adding another layer to our exploration, Jung's concept of the collective unconscious connects us all through shared archetypes, universal symbols, and patterns inherited from humanity's ancestral psyche. Empaths, with their intuitive attunement, tap into this collective realm, effortlessly sensing these archetypes in play. For instance, the manipulator often embodies the trickster archetype, a deceptive figure who uses cunning and illusion to mask underlying weakness or chaos. You, as an empath, intuit their games not just personally, but as echoes of ancient myths, deception, as a survival mechanism for the insecure. This profound seeing creates deep unease for the manipulator. They lash out in defensiveness or flee in avoidance, unable to tolerate the mirror you hold up. One particularly profound aha moment in this depth. Your own terror of the manipulator was likely a projection too, a fear of embracing your inherent power, your ability to expose and heal. Reclaim that power, integrate it, and the entire dynamic shatters, leaving you empowered and the manipulator disarmed. Now let's escalate our dive. This goes deeper than mere psychology. It's profoundly spiritual. Jung viewed empaths as bridges to the soul's wisdom, conduits for the transcendent aspects of the psyche that connect the individual to the divine or the numinous. Manipulators, trapped in the grip of their ego that surface self-focused on control and gratification, resent this luminous quality in empaths. They attempt to dim it through tactics like isolation, cutting you off from support networks, or sowing seeds of self-doubt, questioning your perceptions. But once integrated, you become the alchemist of your own story, transmuting their poisonous projections into personal gold, turning pain into wisdom, vulnerability into strength. Feel that inner shift. It's the movement from victimhood to victory, from being acted upon to becoming the agent of change. The depths reveal an evolutionary truth. Your sensitivity isn't a flaw, but a designed feature evolved to expose and heal collective wounds, fostering growth on both personal and societal levels. Yet objections may still linger, as the mind seeks reassurance in uncertainty. How do I know if it's truly manipulation and not just misunderstanding? Jung advised a stance of observation without immediate judgment, detached curiosity, as a tool for discernment. Watch for recurring patterns, inconsistencies in words and actions, habitual blame shifting, or that telltale energy drain after interactions. Your intuition, that inner compass Jung celebrated, already knows. Trust it implicitly. This practice builds resilience, transforming doubt into confidence. As we rise from these depths, carry this core truth. The shadow isn't an enemy to be vanquished, but a teacher to be embraced. Integration awaits promising wholeness beyond the illusions. To expand our exploration further, consider historical parallels that illuminate this dynamic. Jung drew heavily from myths and folklore, where empathetic figures like shamans or oracles confront dark forces delving into the underworld to retrieve lost wisdom. Manipulators echo the demons or tricksters of these tales, entities that feed on fear, chaos, and deception to sustain their power. Your role as an empath, the light bearer, the one who illuminates hidden truths, much like Prometheus stealing fire from the gods. In modern terms, think of therapy sessions or family dynamics. Empaths often uncover buried secrets, abuse addictions, or generational traumas, terrifying those who prefer to keep them hidden in the shadow. This depth work doesn't just heal the individual. It mends generational lines, breaking cycles of pain and projection. Let's enrich this with more stories to ground the concepts. Take John, an empath navigating the cutthroat corporate world. He sensed his boss's deep insecurity lurking behind the bullying tactics, harsh criticisms disguised as feedback. Instead of reacting with resentment or quitting in defeat, John integrated his shadow by acknowledging his own fear of authority. He responded with calm, factual assertions, documenting achievements and seeking clarification without emotion. The boss, stripped of his projective target, began avoiding him, and soon John received a well-deserved promotion. This cascade of aha moments unfolds like layers. The surface lie, "I'm weak and deserve this," gives way to deeper truth. "I see too much, and that threatens them," culminating in transformational insight. "I control my response, not them." If resistance arises, perhaps grief over lost relationships or illusions, address it compassionately. It's okay to mourn what was, as this grieving paves the way for authentic connections. Diving into deeper archetypes, consider the Anima and animus, Jung's terms for the contrasexual soul images within us. The Anima, the feminine archetype of intuition and emotion, is often strongly expressed in empaths, granting profound relational depth. Manipulators, however, may exhibit a distorted animus, the masculine drive for power and logic, twisted into domination. This clash terrifies because it demands balance. The empath's anima challenges the manipulator to integrate their own repressed femininity, confronting vulnerability. On a spiritual plane, Jung's own Red Book chronicles his visionary encounters with shadow figures, a descent into the psyche that empaths experience daily through their sensitivity. To heal, try dialoguing with your inner figure's journal, as if conversing with your shadow or the manipulator's projected archetype, asking, "What do you need from me?" This practice fosters integration and reduces terror. Objections persist. What if they're not manipulative, just deeply hurt? Discernment is key, distinguishing between genuine pain and intentional exploitation. Jung emphasized compassion as a cornerstone of psychology, but not at the cost of self-sacrifice. Patterns reveal intent-consistent energy theft versus occasional lapses. This nuanced depth fosters true empathy without absorption, allowing you to offer support from a place of strength rather than depletion. To deepen, further reflect on the collective impact of this dynamic. Empaths, as Jungian bridges between the personal and collective unconscious, often carry ancestral pain-sensing societal shadows like inequality, deception, or suppressed emotions. Manipulators exploit this sensitivity to maintain control, but your growing awareness shifts the narrative, empowering resistance. In history, empaths like poets, prophets, or healers think of figures such as Rumi or modern activists exposed corruption and hypocrisy, terrifying oppressors who relied on shadows to rule. Today, your clarity achieves the same in everyday arenas. Boardrooms where you call out unethical tactics, or families where you break silence on toxic patterns. This work heals not just you, but the broader human tapestry. More aha moments await in recognizing these patterns in media and culture, manipulative ads that prey on insecurities, political rhetoric that projects blame, or social media echo chambers fostering division. Your sensitivity decodes them, effortlessly empowering informed choices and reducing their hold. If resistance manifests as fear of confrontation, remember Jung's teaching. Dialoguing with the shadow internally first builds courage. Start small name truths in your journal before voicing them aloud. Over time, this practice transforms apprehension into assertive power. On a spiritual depth, empaths embody the wounded healer archetype, Chiron, from Greek myth, who heals others through his own enduring pain. Manipulators fear this resilience because it highlights their fragility. They can't comprehend turning wounds into wisdom. Your scars, once sources of shame, become badges of insight, terrifying those who hide behind masks. Pause here and breathe it in. You've faced the core truths of the shadow, the projections, and the archetypes. This exploration isn't abstract, it's a call to action. Now let's make it yours. Reflect on a recent interaction. What shadow was projected? How can you return it? Integration begins with this step, turning terror into triumph. Wisdom without action is like a seed unplanted, carried away by the wind. Carl Jung emphasized that knowledge only transforms when it is lived embodied in the choices we make and the boundaries we set. For empaths, who often absorb the energies of others, particularly manipulators, integration is the bridge between philosophical insight and daily life. It's the process of taking the awakening, the recognition of your sensitivity, as both a gift and a vulnerability, and turning it into a lived reality that protects and empowers you. This chapter is about grounding Jung's wisdom into practical, actionable steps that help you navigate a world filled with emotional currents, manipulative tactics, and your own inner shadows. Integration begins with practicality, and the cornerstone of Jung's approach is shadow work. The shadow, as Jung described, is the hidden part of your psyche, those traits, fears, or desires you reject or suppress. For empaths, the shadow often manifests in the emotions triggered by manipulators: anger at their deceit, shame at feeling duped, or fear of confrontation. These reactions are not just about the manipulator. They point to unacknowledged parts of yourself. To begin shadow work, Jung suggested journaling as a way to uncover these projections. Take a notebook and write about a recent interaction that left you drained or upset. For example, if a colleague's passive-aggressive comment stung, ask, "What about this irritates me? What does it reveal about my own fears or insecurities?" You might write, "Their sarcasm makes me feel small, mirroring my fear of not being enough." This act of naming disarms the manipulator's hold by bringing your shadow into awareness. Try this exercise daily for a week. Reflect on one interaction that triggered you. Write 3 sentences: what happened, how it felt, and what it might reveal about your inner world. For instance, "When my friend dismissed my opinion, I felt invisible," which mirrors my fear of not being valued. Over time, this practice builds a map of your shadow, helping you anticipate triggers and respond with clarity rather than reaction. Shadow work isn't about self-blame. It's about reclaiming power by understanding yourself. Empaths often struggle with boundaries, their natural tendency to merge with others' emotions, leaving them vulnerable to manipulation. Boundaries are not walls, but filters allowing you to engage with the world while protecting your energy. A practical tool is visualization. Each morning, close your eyes and imagine a shield of light surrounding you, a radiant barrier that lets in love and truth but deflects harm. When a manipulator probes perhaps a family member guilt-tripping you or a coworker subtly undermining you, pause and say, "I sense tension." Let's take a moment. This calm assertion disrupts their tactics, signaling your awareness without escalating conflict. Your quiet authority, rooted in self-awareness, is more unsettling to a manipulator than an emotional outburst. To make this tangible, practice setting one boundary a day. It could be as simple as saying no to an extra task at work or declining a draining social invitation. Start small to build confidence. For example, if a friend asks for a favor that feels overwhelming, try, "I'd love to help, but I need to prioritize my energy today." Anticipate resistance. Manipulators often escalate when boundaries are set, accusing you of being selfish or cold. This is their shadow reacting, their fear of losing control. Hold firm. Journal the outcome. How did it feel to say no? Did their reaction confirm their motives? Over time, these small acts of boundary setting strengthen your inner resolve, transforming you from reactive to intentional. Let's connect this to real-world scenarios. At work, you might notice a colleague who takes credit for your ideas. Instead of absorbing the resentment which drains your energy, pause and reflect. This feels unfair. What's being triggered in me? Perhaps it's a fear of being overlooked, a shadow aspect tied to self-worth. Document the incident, factually dates times what was said, and detach emotionally. This creates a record for future discussions with a manager, but more importantly, it frees you from carrying the emotional weight. In relationships, watch for patterns like charm followed by criticism, a classic manipulator's tactic. Jung called this the Anima, animus dynamic, where projected ideals charm, mask, hidden shadows control. Instead of engaging, withdraw emotionally. Limit contact, focus on your own goals, and journal about what you're learning about yourself. For example, if a partner alternates between flattery and subtle put-downs, write, "Their praise feels good, but the criticism stings. Am I seeking their approval to feel worthy?" This reflection helps you separate your emotions from theirs. Practically reduce time spent with them and redirect your energy to hobbies, friends, or self-care. Anticipate challenges. They may sense your withdrawal and double down, accusing you of being distant. Respond calmly. "I'm focusing on my well-being right now." This isn't rejection, it's reclamation of your space. Track these moments in a journal to see your progress, noting times you successfully held a boundary or recognized a manipulation early. These are wins, proof of your growing strength. Jung saw intuition not as a passive gift, but as an active tool for creation and discernment. Empaths, with their heightened sensitivity, can hone this to predict manipulators' moves. For instance, if you sense someone is isolating you, a common control tactic, note it. "They're excluding me from decisions," which feels like a power play. Counter this by seeking community. Reach out to colleagues, friends, or online groups who share your values. A practical exercise is meditation on the self. Sit quietly for 5 minutes daily and ask, what emotions are mine? What belongs to others? Visualize releasing foreign energies, like letting go of a heavy weight. This practice clarifies your emotional landscape, making it easier to spot manipulation and respond from a place of wholeness. To deepen this, read Jung's Man and His Symbols, which explores the psyche's language through archetypes and dreams. Apply its insights in conflicts. Instead of reacting impulsively to a manipulator's jab, pause and ask, what archetype are they embodying, the trickster, the shadow? This reframes their behavior as a psychological pattern, not a personal attack. For example, if a boss belittles your work, Recognize it as their shadow projecting insecurity. Respond calmly. I appreciate feedback. Let's discuss specifics. This keeps you grounded in your truth. Over time, this discernment becomes second nature, allowing you to navigate interactions with clarity and confidence. Integration isn't without challenges. Setting boundaries can lead to loneliness, especially if you distance yourself from toxic relationships. Jung warned that individuation and the journey to wholeness often feels isolating at first. But this solitude is fertile ground for authenticity. When doubt creeps in, affirm my sensitivity is my strength. I am learning to protect it. To build confidence, track your progress in a journal. Note moments when you spotted manipulation early or held a boundary without guilt. These are milestones, evidence of your transformation from drained to dynamic. Another hurdle is backlash. Manipulators may intensify their tactics when they sense you pulling away, accusing you of being uncaring or oversensitive. Prepare responses in advance. I'm choosing peace right now, or I need space to process. These statements are neutral, yet firm, deflecting their attempts to provoke. Over time, manipulators fade. They thrive on emotional availability, and your grounded presence makes you an unappealing target. Empower yourself with this truth. You're not here to fix them, but to model wholeness. By living authentically, you inspire others to do the same, creating a ripple effect of healing. Family dynamics pose unique challenges for empaths, as relatives often wield guilt as a weapon. Imagine a parent who says, "After all I've done, you're abandoning me." This is their shadow speaking, projecting their fear of loss. Integrate Jung's wisdom by responding with compassion, but without absorption. I hear your pain, but I can't carry it for you. They may react with anger, their shadow exposed. Stay calm, visualizing your shield of light. This not only protects you, but also models healthy boundaries for others. Friends or siblings may notice your shift, asking how you stay so centered. Share small insights. I'm learning to separate my emotions from others. This plants seeds of change. Jung believed individual transformation heals the collective. Each boundary you set, each manipulation you deflect, contributes to a larger shift toward authenticity. To make this practical, establish a weekly reflection ritual. List key interactions from the week, noting the energies exchanged. Did a conversation leave you drained, energized? Adjust your approach. Spend more time with those who uplift you, less with those who drain. If backlash occurs, rehearse responses. I'm prioritizing my peace. Or, let's discuss this calmly later. These prepared statements keep you steady, building confidence over time. Integration goes beyond survival. It's about thriving. Empaths, with their deep emotional reservoirs, can channel their sensitivity into creation, art, writing music, or helping others from a place of strength. Jung saw intuitives as visionaries capable of shaping the world through their insights. If you're drawn to writing, start a journal or blog about your empath journey, weaving in Jungian concepts. If art calls, paint or draw your emotions, letting your shadow and light emerge on the canvas. These acts of creation transform pain into purpose, turning your sensitivity into a gift for the world. Anticipate slips. Old patterns like people-pleasing or absorbing others' emotions may resurface. Forgive yourself and recommit. For example, if you catch yourself overextending for a friend, pause and reflect, I fell into an old habit. What triggered this? Then reset with a boundary. I need to step back for now. This builds resilience, an unbreakable core that grows stronger with each cycle of learning. To support this, incorporate daily energy hygiene. Take grounding walks in nature, feeling the earth beneath your feet. This reconnects you to your intuition, clearing absorbed energies. On social media, spot manipulators, those who guilt trip or provoke, and unfollow them. In your career, seek roles that value your sensitivity, such as counseling, coaching, or creative fields. If burnout creeps in, rest and recharge, perhaps with a short meditation or a day offline. Integration is about balance, ensuring your energy flows inward and outward harmoniously. To deepen integration, add more tools to your practice. Affirmations rooted in Jung's philosophy can anchor you. I integrate my shadow. I am whole. Repeat this daily, especially when self-doubt arises. Group therapy or support groups for empaths provide a safe space to share experiences and learn from others. Test new friendships by sharing small vulnerabilities and observing responses. Do they listen with respect, or do they exploit your openness? This fosters trust and filters out manipulators. Cultural pushback is another challenge. Society often undervalues empathy, labeling it as weakness. Counter this by subtly educating others, share a Jungian insight in conversation, or recommend a book like Man and His Symbols. Track your progress in a journal, celebrating milestones like saying no without guilt or spotting a manipulator's tactic before it affects you. These victories build a narrative of empowerment, reinforcing your transformation. To make integration a lived reality, adopt daily practices. Start your morning with a 5-minute meditation, visualizing your shield of light and affirming I am centered and protected. In the evening, reflect with a journal prompt. What energies did I absorb today? What can I release? This helps you process interactions and release what isn't yours. In social settings, observe energy shifts. If a conversation feels draining, politely exit with, I need a moment to recharge. At work, document manipulative tactics, undermining comments, stolen credit, and strategize responses like addressing the issue calmly with a manager. In family dynamics, limit exposure to toxic relatives, prioritizing self-care like a quiet evening or a walk. These practices ground Jung's wisdom in your reality, making integration a daily habit. For career shifts, explore roles that align with your empathic nature and Jungian principles, such as therapy, coaching, or creative arts. If self-doubt arises, counter it with affirmations, my intuition is my guide. Join online communities for empaths, sharing insights and learning from others' experiences. These connections build resilience, reminding you that you're not alone in your journey. Over time, integration becomes second nature. Each boundary set, each projection returned, strengthens your core. Manipulators lose their grip as you claim your power, moving from drained to dynamic. You've reached the final alchemy transformation. This is the culmination of your journey from the magnetic pull of manipulators through awakening to your empathic nature, exploring the depths of your psyche, and integrating Jung's wisdom into daily life. Now you cement your new identity, the awakened empath. No longer a sponge absorbing others' emotions, you are a beacon radiating clarity and strength. Jung envisioned individuation as a rebirth, a state of wholeness, where your sensitivity and power coexist harmoniously. Manipulators who thrive on emotional chaos are unnerved by your presence. They see in you what they lack: integration. Your quiet distance, rooted in self-awareness, holds more power than any outburst. It starves their games and leaves them powerless. Paint this vision. You wake each morning energized, your boundaries a natural extension of your being. Interactions flow authentically, free from hidden agendas or emotional drains. You attract equals, friends, colleagues, partners who respect your sensitivity and share your values. Life feels lighter, richer, as if a fog has lifted. Affirm this daily: I am sensitive and strong. My empathy illuminates, not burdens. To sustain this, continue shadow work as a lifelong practice. Each week, journal about a trigger, asking, what does this reveal about my shadow? Join communities of seekers, online forums, local groups, or book clubs studying Jung, and share your story. You're part of a quiet revolution, healing the world by healing yourself. This transformation isn't solitary. Jung's wisdom connects you to a universal psyche, a collective thread of seekers across time. Embrace your role as a mirror reflecting authenticity and as a warrior, wielding discernment against manipulation. Your journey inspires others. A friend sees your calm confidence and asks for advice. A co-worker notices your boundaries and begins setting their own. This ripple effect is the collective healing Jung envisioned, where individual transformation uplifts the whole. Envision your future self as a mentor, guiding others through their empathic journey. You might write a book or blog on Carl Jung empaths and personal development, weaving your experiences with Jungian insights. Relationships deepen as you attract mutual respect, replacing one-sided dynamics with authentic bonds. In your career, intuition guides you to success, perhaps in counseling where you help others navigate their shadows, or in creative fields where your sensitivity fuels innovation. Challenges like old wounds resurfacing are minimal as your discernment now prevails. When they arise, return to journaling or therapy, reframing pain as wisdom. Affirm your new identity with daily mantras, I am integrated, whole, and free. Deepen your growth with advanced Jungian texts like the archetypes and the collective unconscious, which explores the universal patterns shaping our psyche. Join online forums for empaths, sharing triumphs and learning from others. Your story becomes a beacon inspiring chains of healing as others adopt your practices. Transformation extends beyond the personal to the collective. Consider your legacy passing Jungian principles to the next generation, teaching children to honor their sensitivity while setting boundaries. This breaks cycles of manipulation, fostering a world that values empathy. Envision a society where sensitivity is celebrated, not exploited, where schools teach emotional literacy, workplaces reward authenticity, and communities support intuitive growth. On a personal level, let your intuition guide adventures, travel to new places, explore cultures, and trust your inner compass. Each experience deepens your transformation, turning wounds into scars of wisdom. Cement this with daily practices. Morning meditation to center your energy, evening reflection to process interactions. Attract soul connections through deep, meaningful conversations, letting go of relationships that drain. Overcome past traumas by forgiving yourself and others, freeing your energy for growth. Form or join groups studying Carl Jung empaths and personal development, sharing experiences to foster collective healing. Inspire action. Set one boundary today, whether declining a draining request or speaking your truth. Watch the change unfold. You are the alchemist turning sensitivity into strength. To deepen this transformation, envision your legacy in action, speaking at workshops, writing articles, or mentoring others. In relationships, cultivate deep, authentic bonds, testing new connections with small vulnerabilities to ensure trust. In your career, lead with intuition, innovate in creative fields, guide others in counseling, or advocate for empath-friendly workplaces. If old wounds resurface, heal through journaling therapy or support groups, reframing pain as growth. Expand your community by joining global empath networks, attending workshops, or hosting discussions. Your legacy grows as you inspire policy changes, schools valuing emotional intelligence, workplaces fostering authenticity. On a personal level, explore the world, letting intuition guide your path from quiet retreats to vibrant cities. Cement your transformation with consistent practices, daily affirmations, I am a beacon of light, weekly reflection rituals, and monthly community check-ins. Growth is an endless spiral, each cycle deepening your wholeness. Revisit past wounds, now scars of wisdom, and feel your belonging in the universal psyche. You are transformed, a living embodiment of Jung's individuation. Manipulators flee your light, unable to penetrate your clarity. Embrace it fully. If this journey resonates, dive deeper. Reflect, what's one insight that shifted your perspective? Share your empath story in the comments. Your experience strengthens our community. Subscribe for more explorations into the psyche, where Jung's ancient wisdom meets modern healing. You're not alone in this transformation. Look within and let your light shine.